Even though we are a technology company, we're an information technology business, we're an IT services company, we're really in the people business.
While we're in the IT services industry, we're really a people company by choice.
Atrion culture is people. It is the family. It is this group that are coming together to do great things.
The following special program is brought to you by Atrion IT Technology, Rhode Island College, Cardi's Furniture, and the Arpin Group.
We know that renewable energy, particularly wind, can be very controversial. Today, on show 4 of our tour, shot in the beautiful home of the Westerly Land Trust, we get a very good look at the pros and cons of a town trying to move to clean energy. As we talk to Jeff Broadmoor, one of our guests last week from the Washington County Regional Planning Council, and John Reiner, town planner, North Kingstown, Rhode Island. You will see that an energy plan is just one small piece of an intricate economic design that John and the town must try to craft in a time when resources are limited and jobs are a very high priority. What other elements make or break a town? Should they focus on short-term goals or long-term strategies? Come back in a minute to find out.
Trust Building in Westerly, Rhode Island, and I am here with John Reiner, town planner, North Kingstown. John, so good to see you, and I am really excited to be talking about your town and some of the things that are going on. And we re-welcome Jeff Broadhead from the Washington County Planning Council. Jeff, so good of you to come back. John, why don't we start with a little bit of a history of North Kingstown, some of your economic development, and also some of the resources that you have there to kind of grow an economy.
Sure. I think, thanks for having me, first of all. North Kingstown, I think we're blessed with some great natural assets. Our coast, we have our Wickford Village, all of our historic villages, some fantastic open spaces and farmland. A lot of our historic economy was based off of farmland, off of the seaport areas, and back in the 50s or the 40s when the Quonset Navy base came in, that really led a lot of development in North Kingstown and along the Post Road corridor. When the Navy base came out, the state ended up acquiring the Quonset-Davisville area, and it has turned into now the state's premier business park.
That was an interesting time, right? When the Navy pulled out. I mean, I'm assuming there were a lot of jobs there.
Yes.
And I assume that there were some real setbacks between the time you were able, or the state was able to acquire that property, and what it took to grow it. So let's talk about how you've grown it and the mix there, because I know it's a very important part of the town landscape.
Yeah. When the Navy left, the town lost a significant amount of just general population, and the major growth in the town at that point had all been along the Post Road corridor, and our outlying areas, all the farms and forests, really hadn't been developed much. Once the Navy left, North Kingstown became much more of a bedroom community over time. The state ended up, as I said before, acquiring the business park. And then for many, many years, the town, the state, and Quonset, run by the Economic Development Corporation for a number of years, were really at odds about what is the future use of Quonset, an incinerator, the megaport, a landfill. And just in the past few years, Quonset has done a phenomenal job with really determining what they want to see happen at the business park, working with the town. And just recently, a few years ago, we passed, working with Quonset, a joint development review process. So really to cut the red tape down so people can get permits for the development process within 60 days or less.
Wow.
And
which is interesting, because I always thought North Kingstown had a bit of a reputation for being difficult to work with, not really friendly to business. So that's a real expedited process. So it's privately managed then,
Yes.
the Quonset development?
by the state.
By the state,
Yes.
okay. And what is the mix now? Very large companies, small companies, medium, new technology. What is the mix?
A little bit of everything. There's some big corporations, Electric Boat, Torrey Plastics, you have Senesco, you have Job Lot, and then you have some really smaller companies there. And right now, Quonset is still building up some new office space to try to get some small and medium tenants in there.
And what's interesting, you mentioned the port as an example. So there was some controversy there. Now, you do have intermodal.
Yes.
Right? You do have a port facility.
There's a port, there's the airport, there's limited access highway, there's the rail. It's a phenomenal system.
But what was the controversy? People didn't want to see the port expand. They didn't want to see additional shipping. What happened? Because that was really, wasn't that part of the planning and the future? And
that was back in the mid to late 90s. I think the major proposal was to fill in over 500 acres of the bay, and it was to make it Quonset a mega container port. It is a port. It's right now it's a major car carrier port for the region, and has been very successful looking at multiple different modes and types of cargo coming in. And that's where Quonset has really found their niche, not having the mega container ports off the table. Now it's how can we look at what little pieces of the market can we fill in and make that happen.
how much, and Jeff, you may know this, available land is there? I mean, I know there's been a lot of development. I've seen Kiefer is pretty full. You've got some international. There's a German company down there. Is there still a lot of land available?
There is still a few hundred acres of land left there, but take a drive through. I implore people to go check out Quonset. It's amazing how successful it's been, and there's still a lot of business activity going through now.
And you've got an amazing waterfront. There were some buildings built. I think one's an insurance company down on the water that are just fabulous. Jeff, you work closely with North Kingstown?
I do.
And are you involved at all in trying to continue the development of Quonset, or?
Not specifically, because what we work at is...
How do you help North
We try to work
Kingstown?
symbiotically. We work what the towns can't do or can't do easily, then we'll step in and help with.
So how would you help?
We would help if a business came to us looking for a parcel in South County, and North Kingstown appeared to be the best place.
Okay.
Recently, or maybe a year ago, we had a request for somebody who needed 90 acres, and I sent an email to all of the planners, and we had several conversations, and they went to Massachusetts. But it's opportunistic work in terms of this. Otherwise, John and North Kingstown have that totally under control.
Recognizing the assets they have,
That's right.
some of the land, some of the areas, how they permit, some of the mixed use, some of those types of things, and trying to help bring the right.
It's not a lot of open industrial land across the
We want to take time to thank our many sponsors who, along with you, our viewer, continue to make this show possible. Together with the Arpin Group, Cardi's Furniture, Atrion, Rhode Island College, Handy Law, Merrill Lynch, and Ocean State Financial, and our newest partner, WB Mason, we have taken a great ride in 2012 across many cities and towns to major events and have built our global audience using newspapers, radio, TV, and the web to over 200,000 listeners and viewers per month. We've done that by being graced with great guests, including governors and senators, government leaders, and true pioneers and innovators at schools, nonprofits, businesses, and on the streets of our cities and our towns. As Renewable Now continues to grow locally, regionally, and across the globe, we'd like other sponsors to join as partners and share in our success. If you want to promote across the booming green economy with a platform like no other, please contact us by emailing our staff at fiscalrecordings@cox.net or call our co-producer and head of business development, Anne-Marie Fisk, at 401-603-2097. You can find the same information at our website as well. We are helping to transform the world. We'd love to do the same for you and for your organization. We are Renewable Now, the business side of green.
let's work off the success that North Kingstown has had, Quonset. Let's talk about the rest of the town and your future growth and how you're going to work, and what is the best mix for your town?
Sure. Well, growth is going to happen. It's inevitable. What the town has been working on really in the 8 years or so that I've been in North Kingstown is trying to redirect growth to the right areas. So trying to preserve and protect our open spaces through a program which we adopted a number of years ago called Transfer Development Rights, where you take the development potential away from the farms and the forests, have the developers actually pay to buy up those development rights and redirect that development to areas where we do want to see development. So Post Road, which is the spine cutting right through the middle of Quonset, Post Road has really seen a lot of disinvestment over the last number of years after Quonset left. We spent hundreds of thousands of dollars replanning all of Quonset, all of Post Road, and making that our new major growth corridor. The town is right now installing, literally right now installing our first sewer system along Post Road to allow for higher density mixed use development, creating a real walkable environment. So when people think about great places to go when you go on vacation, you think about those amazing places that you can walk, and you really remember it. Similar to downtown Westerly or Wickford or downtown Wakefield.
But explain that to me again, because it's very interesting. So developers will buy up certain rights to land that you want to preserve, though,
Correct.
right? You don't want to see development.
Exactly.
But they'll take those rights and use them in areas that you do want to see developed.
Correct.
So that's very creative, and so you work to try to, and then what happens to that land where the development rights are in essence preserved? Is it farmland? Does it become open to the public? What do you do with it? And can you tell me, what is the mix in the town? Do you still have a lot of open space? Have you been able to preserve a lot of your character? But tell me how you balance all that, you work with that.
Yeah, there's a lot of pieces to that. With the transfer of development rights, a developer would buy that development potential to get higher density on property that they own in an area where we want to see development. And what we do to encourage it there is we make the process even easier in those growth areas along Post Road. We just went through a study looking at all of our historic villages and how can we redirect growth to those areas. So,
and what would be a historic village?
So for example, the village of Lafayette, there's this phenomenal mill complex there that we've been working with some of the owners around there to try to get some growth happening there. A new emerging village.
Would that be light industrial? Would that be retail? Would that be residential? What would that be?
It could be a little bit of all of those. If you look at historic areas, historic villages, there was a little bit of industry, there was office, there was retail, and people all living within that environment.
So you try to cultivate a little bit of mixed use in some of those? And then you have a Wickford as an example, right? What is your intent there? Right
now we're trying to just help preserve Wickford and its character, but also let it adjust to the current century. So trying again to get development to happen back in there. The town closed the Wickford Elementary School right before I started working for the town. It's actually for sale right now, and we're trying to look at development options that'll help revitalize Wickford.
Jeff, so again, what is the council's role? And let's look on a state level. They've been talking about bringing back, John, as an example, the historic tax credit, which may or may not be applicable right to that mill building. But so how do you help a North Kingstown with this type of goal for their development?
Well, a great example is the transfer development rights that John talked about, is that right now it's limited to be within North Kingstown predominantly. And what we were able to secure a grant to study what happens if you're trying to preserve a farm in Charlestown, and can the development rights be used on Post Road in North Kingstown? So what is the town boundary? Does that make sense or not when you're preserving land here and fostering growth in a village somewhere else?
So that's a fascinating, really a wonderful use of how government can kind of re-permit, right? And use some of their influence to allow for both preservation and development. I think that's wonderful. You have a commuter rail station now. What does that mean to Wickford or North Kingstown?
I think it means something for all of Washington County and the state.
Does?
I really think it does.
How does it help?
It's a major transportation hub. So although ridership has been down right now when it first opens, that's a major infrastructure investment. The town right now, working with the State Department of Transportation, is planning on replanning that whole area, looking at making it more of a hub for compact, mixed use, mixed development. So having the residential and the commercial, offices, retail, all happen in that area to make it truly a walkable area, a place, something that people want to go, and not just there's a commuter rail stop that I drive with my car, then I go to Walmart, then I go to Stop and Shop,
Right.
and then I go home.
But that's a great point. So do you try to develop in and around that kind of the complete street kind of idea where people could potentially bike, not just drive there? Is there access to any kind of bike paths? How does it work in you trying to develop, because that's a big area.
Yeah.
And certainly, as you said, that transportation hub, well, we've seen it in plenty of places, you know, Boston and lots of places where it's been an amazing mecca for development. So do you have like those kinds of concepts?
Yes.
that you could-
The town about 6 months ago just finished up a grant. We received a Healthy Places by Design grant looking at making North Kingstown a more walkable, bikeable, better access to healthy food and access and compact mixed-use development. One of the main products that came out of that was looking at connections between Post Road, Wickford Junction. How can we get bike path networks connecting all those areas up?
More walkable,
More
potentially,
walkable
right.
sidewalks. The town council passed a complete streets resolution. We're actually talking about doing a road diet on Post Road to make that sidewalks the whole length, slowing traffic down a little bit, again, for that walkable area. We'd be looking at something similar, at least sidewalks and bike paths around Wickford Junction. The town also just rezoned an area to the west of Wickford Junction for a smaller village, and looking at trying to connect that via bike paths and other mechanisms.
Terrific. We'll go right.
Faster than a speeding bullet, more powerful than a 600-pound gorilla, able to pack any home in a single move. Look, pulling up to our house. It's a delivery. It's a truck. No, son, that's the Arpin Moving Guy. An advanced mover from the Arpin Group, sent to defeat rogue movers and moving giants that provide bad home moves. He delivers customer satisfaction, quality work, and award-winning service. For a super move, call Arpin at 800-343-3500 or visit arpin.com. The Moving Guy, saving the world from bad moves, one customer at a time.
Thanks so much for staying with us. Jeff, let's pick up. Let's look at it on a little larger scale as far as what happened at Wickford Junction and how you think it fits in with this transformation of transportation in the state.
Sure, Peter. It fits with several trends. And if we look historically at when villages developed, earlier we were talking about that Westerly's boundary is the river. And usually villages developed at breakbulk point when there was a rapids or a waterfall and you had to unload your canoe and a town would start to develop there, or trading trails came through.
So it was very much transportation.
It was transportation oriented. Now, where we're seeing development is again at transportation. We're seeing them develop out in Western County at the exits on Route 95 where people can get off. We're seeing it at the train stations. So we did a study a couple of years ago on transit-oriented development. It's the development that happens around these transportation hubs. One of them being the Westerly train station, which is related to...
It's been here a long time, right?
It's been here a long time, yeah.
Has it developed?
Well, this Westerly, the town grew here, and now the Westerly Land Trust is investing down here. And there's, in the next, we have to think in decades when we start talking about changes in rail, but the Shoreline East rail from Connecticut will probably come up this far, or the MBTA from Boston, which now comes down to Wickford, may come down to here.
But what do you see
Yeah.
for Wickford and North Kingstown with that transportation hub in place? How does it change things?
It's an impetus for growth. You're
It
going to
is,
have
okay.
people showing up there and parking for work and then stopping to shop and then thinking, why do I drive 10 miles to get to here? Why can't I be closer?
Is it
When
the
we
right
watch
kind of
land
growth?
development, excuse me,
Is it the right kind of growth, in your opinion, that will develop around it?
if John does his job right and if the
Well,
town...
that's a big question,
No, not
right?
just him personally. And if the town of North Kingstown adopts the right kind of controls, yes. This is that fine line between the public's, the private sector's right to develop absolutely anything, absolutely anywhere, and the public purpose of, we don't want a cement plant next to my house. Well, a black and white decision like that is fairly easy. But what if it's just a little larger store instead of a smaller store? When you get to those fine lines,
How do they
that's where
coexist?
the professionals like John and the planning commissions that work so hard on these towns, and then the town councils have to face the thorny decisions of Where do we draw that line? What's allowed, what's not allowed? And so that happens across the state. Where we can help, we do, but that's a local decision. We don't step on local at all.
John, following up on that a little
Yeah.
bit, renewable energy
Yeah.
in the town of North Kingstown. Across Rhode Island, there's been controversy. We've struggled to have wind develop. We've struggled to have wind develop here in Westerly. You had a turbine
Yep.
that came up fairly quickly, close to where the Wickford Junction is. How did that develop, and what is the town's role in trying to manage renewable energy?
The town passed a wind energy ordinance probably about 4 years ago. We didn't have any takers for the first couple of years. Someone had applied, and there really wasn't much public noise about it. That current turbine, the one on Mark D. Pasquale's land right next to the Wickford Junction train station, was approved by the town zoning board. Shortly after that was approved, he also proposed one down on Route 2 on Quaker Lane over by Shartner Farms, and a lot of people heard about it. We had over 400 people showing up at public meetings, and the town council ended up putting a moratorium on wind turbines. That turbine proposal was turned down by the planning commission, and then eventually the town changed our regulations and prohibited new wind energy systems.
Does that make sense, though? I mean, don't we have to get to a future of clean energy and off of fossil fuel?
I think that we do. One of the things the town is looking at now is solar, which has much less of an impact locally, and also the town and the state. So the state we were working with the state RESP, the new Renewable Energy Siting Partnership, and looking at wind energy, solar, hydro, and what are the best locations. And I think the thing we need to do now is take a step back from those big wind turbines. What do we learn from them? Should those be located in those types of areas? And if not, what is the proper siting for them?
Have you had good success there with conservation? Is it across some of the town buildings? Is there encouragement working with the businesses and the residents that are there? What's your success on the conservation side in North Kingstown?
One of the things that we've been working with the Washington County Regional Planning Council for a couple of years is on this larger ESCO project, looking at conserving energy in the town buildings, and then also coming up with a larger energy plan within the town's comprehensive plan.
And as part of the state's new energy plan, right, which is hopefully going to come this year. What would be your vision then of the future kind of balance between the environment and the economy, both for North Kingstown and for Washington County? If it plays out the way you're designing and based on some of the things that you'd like to see, what will it look like in 10 years?
I think a lot of our farmland that's existing would be continued to get protected, meaning we'd buy the development rights, it'd still be privately owned, and you'd still stay in agriculture. Same with the forest areas. The majority of our future growth and development would happen in villages, so that there's already the existing infrastructure there. Why build new infrastructure? Long-term maintenance of that costs people a lot of money. In those villages, you have mixed-use development. So you're getting residential, which is the majority of growth that we see in Washington County, but you get the additional retail and the office development, and things can really happen. You make it a place so that people really can relate to it and be proud of where they live.
And we've seen a lot of good mixed use.
Yes.
Right, growth in this state. We've seen it in this region, and it's really just being smart, right, about the inventory of assets that you have there in your town, that you have in Washington County, and obviously trying to cultivate those, not throwing anything away, right, reuse, and then, but really, I think we've seen a lot of that emphasis, even with when we did the Grow Smart shows and stuff, on really building a lot of those types of mixed-use developments, and they make all the sense. So good luck with that. Jeff, thank you so much for coming back with us, and I'll be back.
Cardi's is focused to give you a better night's sleep.
By working with those who have the same goal.
Like our nation's most recognized sleep specialist, Dr. Bruce.
Hi, I'm Dr. Michael Bruce. I'm here at Cardi's personally training Nairobi's team to assess your sleep habits and needs, focusing on my 4 tenets of better sleep: thermoneutrality, balance of pressure, complete relaxation, and tranquil sleep, all of which will help you get a better night's rest.
Enjoy an introductory free Dr. Bruce box spring, Cardi's Furniture.
When you throw away money on wasted electricity, you're throwing away everything you could have bought with it. Saving energy saves you money. Learn more at EnergySavers.gov.
I must say, I was amazed to learn that John, at his young age, had been in the job of town planner for 6 years. I'm jealous that he got that smart that fast. North Kingstown is clearly at a crossroads. Having just added a major transportation and commuter rail station in Wickford, having grown a great deal of industry in Quonset, but seeing limited future development there as available land shrivels, struggling to feed successful business along Post Road, and faced with the challenge of holding on and restoring its historic villages while not overdeveloping and losing some of its rural character. Not easy choices or decisions to make, but we feel good about the leadership, the help they get from Jeff and his team, and their keen understanding of the complexities of community development with a real eye on the future, the next 100 years. We look forward to following their story. Next week, we bring you some of the amazing team of Westerly, Rhode Island, rebuilding devastated parts of coastal areas, still reeling from the power and the fury of superstorms. I'm Peter Arpin for Renewable Now, the show and the tour that bring you the business side.
Faster than a speeding bullet, more powerful than a 600-pound gorilla, able to pack any home in a single move. Look, pulling up to our house. It's a delivery. It's a truck. No, son, that's the Arpin moving guy. An advanced mover from the Arpin Group, sent to defeat rogue movers and moving giants that provide bad home moves. He delivers customer satisfaction, quality work, and award-winning service. For a super move, call Arpin at 800-343-3500 or visit arpin.com. The moving guy, saving the world from bad moves, one customer at a time.